Howdy meeps, Rigoroga here, and you're you, and I have a big red mug of Christmas cheer, black tea. Uh, and I'm getting ready to do Gremlins in the Workshop, a one-shot adventure by RPG Tunes and R&W. And I did some paper crafting to get ready. There's a whole bunch of minis and maps and all sorts of fun stuff that are part of this adventure that I put together. So you can watch those videos, the pregame videos that I put together. And but we're going to go ahead and start. First off, I want to say I'm going to be using characters from the Halloween one shot, the Tremor Train, which you can go back and watch as well. I transferred them as best as I could to D&D Beyond, so I will have links in the video descriptions so you can take a look at the characters in their current state. Neck the Badger is a fighter. Dewlap the Dog is a paladin. Talon the Owl is a ranger. Stifle the Cat is a rogue. Muzzle the Fox is a bard, and Tail the Weasel is a wizard. And these are all reskins of the pre-gens that were included in the Tremor Train. So you can take a look at those essentially you can see those character sheets in the actual Tremor Train adventure, the Halloween one shot. But I reskinned them as sort of a mystery fighting guild of animal people, or not people, of animals that are things. So Tail the Wizard is actually a reskinned rock gnome wizard, second level. Muzzle the Fox Bard is a tiefling bard, second level. Stifle the Cat is a reskinned Lightfoot halfling rogue, second level. Talon the Owl Ranger is a reskinned half-elf ranger, second level. Dewlap the Dog Paladin is a reskin human paladin, second level. And Neck the Badger Fighter is a reskinned hill dwarf fighter. And so, yeah, the actual adventure is Gremlins in the Workshop by, it's a 5e Christmas Xmas adventure thing by R&W and RBG Tunes. This was a adventure that was given to the patrons, or supported by the patrons of the work that they're doing. And it was released to patrons as a black and white, non-colored, non-filled in edition. And they recently released a new version of it that included all of the minis and everything colored in. So it's not just black and white. And there was a discount for patrons, so I went ahead and picked up the colorized version. So if you like the old black and whites, you may, I don't know, you want to adjust your TV set or something. So I think what I'm going to do is the adventure starts out with the animal friends. I still don't know exactly what I don't know the guild or anything. There was a guild master, guild leader whose name was given in the Tremor Train that I've, forgotten off the top of my head. But these 6 friends are adventurers. They've been on adventures. They, solved the Tremor Train issue for the most part. Well, they solved the part that they were there for. They didn't solve everything. But yeah, I think we're, it's not immediately after. It's obviously, a couple months we've been doing guild stuff and, living it up after having done all of this stuff that we said we would do in our previous adventure, and, carousing, doing the D&D carousing thing, living off the gold, that sort of thing. And I think, and then one night, sort of in the winter season, whatever the winter solstice season of this world that we're in, we're on our way towards a tavern for some good cheer and to hang out with our guild buddies and stuff. And And it's a cold and starry night, and we're walking down the road during it's a quiet road in this main big town that we're in. Our breath is crisp in the air, and fresh snowflakes drift lazily down. The surrounding buildings and fields and are already covered in a thick layer of snow, and up ahead we see the warm and inviting light of the tavern where we usually hang out with our guild buddies. That promises a cozy fire and hot beverages. And while we're sort of, jostling and having fun and maybe chasing a ball or a thing of yarn, and we hear the sounds of jolly bells jingling, and it's distant at first. One of us, Dewlap the Paladin or somebody, or Muzzle the Fox, I don't know. They perk up and they hear. We all have pretty excellent hearing. At first, it's really distant, but then it gets louder and louder still, and until there's this large sleigh suddenly zooms over our heads, like not on the road, but like boom, shoom, boom, boom. So this huge sleigh booms over our heads. And the hooves of a bunch of reindeer, clumsy reindeer, barely missing our heads in it, and the sleigh hits the ground in the field next to the road with quite a ruckus, leaving a trail of presents in its wake. It just crashes down, and there's a bunch of presents that get strewn all over the ground. So, and then there's a bunch of reindeer. I don't know how many. 8? Sure, let's do 8. Another present. So I don't really have minis for my characters, but I need to decide which colors they're going to be here. Okay, so Weasel is yellow, Stifle the Cat is blue, Muzzle the Bard is purple, Talon the Ranger is green, Dewlap the Paladin is red, and Neck the Badger is orange. I think, our characters are way over here, and we start to investigate as we approach this crash site, this crashed landing site, and we're coming through the presents and stuff and investigating. Now, the thing that is interesting here is that I have these little boxes, and in the boxes are a bunch of the jolly good item cards that came with the adventure, and these are item cards that are themed with the adventure that came from R&W and RPG Tunes. And so I have all of these cut out. And what happens now is that each character is actually going to get one. I'm going to randomly draw them up. Now, I just want to remind everyone, we have a cobweb veil and a little cauldron from the Halloween adventure. So we're going to really quickly just mix up everything. Now, I actually have 2 full sets of these in those 2 boxes. Sort of somewhat random. Cut it for good luck. So Tail comes up and, is looking and finds on the ground a thing of winter spices. Stifle the Cat comes along and finds a mug of hot cocoa. Muzzle the Fox Bard finds an ugly sweater. Talon the Owl Ranger finds a special snowflake. Dewlap the Paladin finds a gift, which is actually like a portable hole. And Neck the Badger finds winter rations. Okay, this is going to be crazy. as keeping track of all this stuff. I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to hold all of these. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm not going to use, I'm just going to keep them separate and use them as sort of a group pool of things instead of trying to keep them with each character, because it'll be easier for me since I'm managing all of the characters to try and do it that way. So as we make it through these presents and we find a bunch of stuff laying around on the ground, we get maybe around here and we notice that there is a distressed looking sort of haggard, twitchy sort of elven fey creature trying to recover, teetered over in the riding chair of the sleigh, and sees the party and just is like immediately, you have to help. Something horrible has happened, and explains sort of what is going. We ask, okay, what's going on? What happened? This elven creature sort of explains that there was like this really busy period leading up to the winter solstice gift giving seasons, and at Santa's workshop it was bustling with activity. The elves were wrapping presents and making toys and singing songs. So we get the sort of scene, and we do a flashback, and they're making toys and singing songs while Santa was tucked away in his cozy office making the final touches to this year's naughty and nice list. Oh, if only these joyful, hardworking folk were aware of the trouble that was to come. One morning, Sheffy, the elf who's best at baking, gave himself a tummy ache testing one too many brandy schnapps. Holly, this elf that we're talking to, is the elf with the kindest heart, and nursed old Sheffy all day, and did her best to take over the sugar cookies that Sheffy had been working on for everyone's breakfast. However, the distraction of taking care of a sick friend whilst also baking something she'd never made before, she looked up a keto recipe on the internet and tried to change some of the ingredients and make it more healthy. And it meant that Holly didn't realize that as she was like bustling and things were flying around, a dusting of coal from one of the shelves fell into the, knocked over and fell into the mix and got mixed in as she was, hurrying to get it finished. And unbeknownst to everyone in Santa's workshop, eating coal can do all sorts of peculiar things to an elf, which begs the question of why this was in the kitchen to begin with. But there it was, hiding on a back shelf. And all of the elves, when they were served these finished cookies, happily munched their way through the whole batch and congratulated Holly, patted her on the back. And this tasty treat was just what was needed to help them, keep wrapping presents and keep the assembly line, morale up. Holly and Sheffy were the only elves of these elven creatures not to enjoy some of this, the cookies, as Holly was too nervous from everything that happened, and Sheffy still wasn't feeling well in the stomach. And as Holly went to wash the crumbs off the pretty cookie plate, she heard a crackle and then a pop, and as she spun around, she was faced with a crowd of nasty gremlins where her friends had stood moments before. And there was a nasty howl that came from Santa's office instead of the usual jolly chuckle. And that told her that something very bad indeed was going on, and that she should get help, and quick. And before the gremlins could get her, she stole the sleigh that we saw crashed out and flew off into the night looking for help. And that's where we end up now.